This is a reflection on lesson 230 in A Course in Miracles. It says, I will not hurt myself again today. Lesson 230, I will not hurt myself again today. And it talks about how it asks the question, why should we let our minds attack itself when forgiveness, it uses the word forgiveness, but it means acceptance, allowance, is all that's what's here. That's what is being asked of us, to accept things, accept ourselves and other people as we are. And why should we, and this talks about self-attack, why should we attack ourselves? Why should we let the mind attack itself when acceptance is here? And what it made me think of was like, yeah, all things being equal, well, why would we choose attack over acceptance? Why would we continually attack instead of just allow? Why would we continue to choose this versus this? Why? What is it about? I think I have more questions than answers on this one. I don't really ever have answers. I guess I just have usual layers maybe to uncovering more and more about the thing. And this, I'm still just why do we do that? Why are we so wired towards the negative? And why are we so wired towards taking things upon ourselves to say we are so bad, we are so at fault, we are so wrong? Why do we do that when we could equally say, oh man, I'm amazing, I'm great, I'm good, there's no problem here, my brain works, and that's okay. Why do we do that? And like I said, all things being equal means when I step back more objectively outside of my own way of doing that to myself, and I think, okay, let's pretend we're like aliens on this planet. We've just landed or whatever. We are newcomers and we're observing humanity in a petri dish, and we're like, what is that about them? Why do they do that? Because I come from a place, my planet, it's all about sharing love and feeling good about ourselves. I'm amazing, you're amazing, we're all amazing, there's no problems. Meaning, I don't have to feel like I'm the problem. We all have situational inconveniences and traumas and tragedies, but why do I have to turn that into me being the problem? So the alien is looking at us in our petri dish going, why do they do that? It makes no sense. And then I think, why are we wired for that? Because it seems like such a pervasive thing within us humans that we have to. I mean, I get it. I think about the cycle of a life where we start out all innocent, pure babies. We come in, there's nothing imprinted on us at the moment of birth. Or maybe while we're still in the womb, I don't know. At some point, things start getting imprinted on us from the outside, meaning I don't feel any one way about myself until over time I've accumulated stuff from my conditioning, my surroundings, family, all the things. And then I can start to then my sense of purity and purity is the word, becomes tarnished. I feel less and less and less pure as time goes on. And then I get to this state where all I think are negative things about myself, and my sense of self-worth and my inner strength, my inner love, self-love, all of that is now a distant memory, if at all. Why? And I don't know. I don't want to go any deeper than that, because I could speculate and kind of be well, here's, I think, why it happens. But I love this lesson because it really points to that choice we have. And again, it goes back to these types of lessons, says, let us not blah, 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 or let us only do this. It's saying, let's commit to, yeah, we know how we got here. We know we're wired for this. However, let us commit to being different today. Just today, since these lessons are daily. Today, we will not let our minds attack ourselves. We're not going to think those negative thoughts. We're not going to just keep repeating old stories. Let us come into accept ourselves, even just a little bit. Let's just say, you're okay. There's no problem here. And for me, some days that's harder than others. And I feel like that may be a journey I'm on my whole life, of just saying, take a deep breath and say, wait a minute, I see what my mind is doing. It always, like, my mind seems to always look for that opening to say, see what you did there. You weren't a very good person, or you weren't as good, you weren't the best version of yourself, so you should feel real bad about that. Like, I feel like the mind is always looking for those opportunities. The mind, like the ego mind, is very opportunistic, and it'll pounces on that. Because even no matter how much work I do on myself, there's old conditioning that says, and I think, again, I said I wasn't going to say, well, here's how we got here, I think. I don't know, it's fun to think about. And part of me is like, well, I want to say this, which is like, I think it has to go back to the way we're designed to be in tribes and communities, and how that the good of the whole is sometimes at seemingly direct odds with the good of the individual. At least the way the ego thinks that there's like a push-pull between what I want for myself and how I want to be in connection and help others, and how it feels like it's an either or. And I think my journey of a life, one of my many journeys of a lifetime, is be like, well, everything to me is a both and. It can be. And my job on my own inner work is to continually go from the either or way of thinking to the both and way of thinking, because paradox points like this, the feeling of paradox seems to always point to fundamental truths, and paradox tends to be more of the both and, can be like these two opposing things can be true at the same time, instead of either or, black or white thinking, us versus them, like us against them, me against myself. So it feels like my journey has been going from that, the either or, to the both and. So back to the lesson, when I think in terms of either or, the book, the Course in Miracles book, kind of frames that as attack thoughts, us versus them, or attack thoughts. And that's what this lesson talks about, is let us not attack ourselves, because I can think about the times I'm like getting down on myself and really pointing the finger back at myself, saying, you did something wrong, or you shouldn't be that way, or you accidentally made someone feel bad, now you got to feel extra bad for doing that, or whatever. No matter what degree of wrongness I'm feeling, it feels like an attack on the self. It feels like either or, like keeping myself separate from my tribe, separate from my community, like ostracizing, expelling, myself out of the love of oneness, of community, of my tribe, even though that's only happening in my head. Because I think back in the day, the tribe, you did good for the whole, because that was survival, that was our sense of safety. And if you got kicked out of the tribe, you probably weren't likely to survive very well on your own back then, when resources were scarce and like you couldn't do it all yourself. And I feel like in today's world, we feel like we can do it all ourselves, because there are so many conveniences set up that make things easier to come by. Food's easier to come by. Things in life are easier to come by, so that makes us feel like we can do everything ourselves. Until, I'm talking about an able-bodied, non-ill person on the average might feel like they can do things all on their own. And how that is it's such the opposite feeling of of doing things for the good of the whole. Meaning, whatever energy I have and efforts I put forth, it's not just for me. It's because it'll benefit me and the tribe, or it'll benefit the tribe, and in turn that benefits me. Like in tribe and community, there's this feeling of the both and. In community, it's not us versus them. Maybe until you get 2 tribes or 2 communities and you start thinking of us versus them. So I don't know where I'm going with this, other than that's what this lesson made me think of, is how let me not attack my own mind today. It even goes beyond just the self. I think it's just the way humans, when we evolve from the purity of a newborn to the conditioning that happens through childhood, adolescence, adulthood, it's hard to let go of that unless we turn around and look real close with compassion for ourselves. And so that's what this lesson talks about, is don't attack. Let's commit today to accept ourselves, to love ourselves. Because I feel like everything that good can then bloom from there. As I know for myself, if I'm not feeling good about myself, I'm not probably extending the warmth and love out to others. Not authentically, anyway. Maybe surface level, here's what I can muster. The face of love, but not the depths of love, So, that's what I got. I'm still driving, so that's why when I look back at my lessons, there will be 4 while I'm on the road because I'm catching up from being in a different phase of life this past week of caring for others, and it's really made me I'm still so fresh with it. I feel like I take care of others, but that's just but part of me knows I don't really do it to the level I want, and I want to be allowed to. And I feel like the more now I can voice that for my loved ones, the more they might let me. That's the phase of life I'm in. It's speaking openly about what I really desire. I just am coming from my uncle's house, my mom's brother, and if you watch the other 2 videos that I will have posted by now, I talk about how for the past week my mom's been in the hospital, and then in the ER, and then the ICU, and it was pretty bad, pretty bad, and she's stable now, thank goodness. And then I learned while my mom was in the hospital that my dad was admitted for heart troubles, and they're 2,000 miles apart. They've been divorced since I was little, so it's just a weird coincidence. And I just got word that he's out of surgery with a quintuple bypass. It's amazing. He's had no issues up till now, and then they found out he had some heart attacks leading up to this. Quintuple. He outdid his father, my grandfather, who had a quadruple. It's they're trying to outdo each other. My lightness now, don't get me wrong, there's an ocean of crying that's going to be happening over the next 2 days, because I haven't processed all this yet, because things are not in equilibrium, and now I'm in a phase of life of I've always wanted to be there for my family, but we have a family of no, I'm good. No, I'm good. never really able to get real talk, and now that's starting to happen. But I finally was the one who spearheaded that. I'd always been scared to do it, and kind of like attack thoughting, going back to this lesson, like I'm the one that like had the preemptive attack, like, well, I know what they're gonna do, so I'm not even gonna try anymore, you know, or I know what they're gonna say, so I'm gonna say this. And like that, the book taught, the Course in Miracles talks about pre-attack thoughts, like I'm pre-attacking what I think they're gonna attack with, and it's like exhausting. And so I'm like, and this has been the week of like, well, it can't get any more exhausting than being in a hotel, like all the stuff I've gone through with my parents the last week. And so now we're gonna start having real talk. If you don't like it, that's okay. It's all in the name of love. And I just had a conversation with my uncle, and I'm like, it's okay that this is the phase of life we're in. And talk about going back to that analogy of the baby, the purity of the baby, where we are so vulnerable as a baby and we need help, right? We need people to take care of us. And then we get to the middle ground of life where we are able to do the caretaking. And then we go to the old age part of life where we now need being taken care of again. And that's just the way life is supposed to play out, right? Given the way our biology goes from weak to strong to weak. It's a physical need, not a mental. But over time, I feel like we've turned that physical need into a mental disability. Like we feel disabled when we're not able to care for ourselves, and that brings a whole feeling of, I talked about in the last video about helplessness, and I have it in myself. Out of one side of my mouth I'm saying, let me take care of you, and out of the other side of my mouth I'm like, I'm scared to get old. I'm scared to rely on other people. I'm not scared to get old. I actually love getting older. I'm scared of helplessness. I'm scared of having to rely on other people. And so I just had my uncle and I love when we're able to talk, and because we can have real talk, seems a little more free flowing than other family members. So I appreciate that. Or it's like we were talking exactly about that thing, because I just went there to take care of him. He's in a hospital bed in his house, you know, and so doing meal prep and making sure he's got what he needs and meds and all that stuff. And I have Stephen telling him, like, it's okay, right? And he was talking about how, yeah, but it took a while to get there to be able to ask for help. And so me talking right now is me planting a seed in my own brain that's like, it'll be okay. It's gonna be so freaking hard, isn't it? Do you feel that? Like that's one thing that I don't mind getting old. I love the wisdom, I love the freedom, I don't give a shit what other people think. All those feelings that come along with getting older. And being able to share love more freely and not being as self-conscious of that. And then the other part is like, and I'm scared to rely on other people. I'm scared to ask for help. I don't like that feeling of being in need. And that's such a fundamental fear that we talked about before, that I know is going to be hard for me. So I'm planting the seed now here at the age I am, saying, yay, I get to care for people. And then I'm like, but I'm not going to want anybody to care for me. So I get it. I get it conceptually that it's hard, but as with anything in life, I won't truly know how hard it is till I'm in that position. And I'm sure it's going to bring up a lot of, oh God, no, don't help me. But oh God, I need help, but let's not talk about it. And I get that there's a lot of families, that's where I'm at, my family, of like, we don't talk about stuff. And now I'm so thrilled, and it's all related to this lesson of like, like the whole not having real talk in love, like not really being real. There's this extra layer of, I'm assuming what you're thinking, and I'm assuming that you're thinking what I'm thinking, that you're thinking what I'm thinking. Like there's this whole level up here where we get all and it's all the mind stuff of attack and pre-attack and preemptive, preemptive everything. Everything's preemptive until we can get to real talk. And then I'm like, oh man, that's what we've been wanting all this time, and how less exhausting it is to actually have real talk, heart to heart. I don't know what else to call it other than real talk, so you might have another word for it. But it's just like being authentic with each other. Like, let's be real with how we feel, what we want, what we don't want. And not be like, well, I shouldn't say that, or I should not want that, and I shouldn't. Layer. And then let's just not address it. And what I see in that, I was talking about exhaustion. Finally, having the real talk, it feels so less exhausting than not. And that seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? Like the effort of really saying what you feel feels so exhausting. It's easier just to dissociate and be like, I'm good. Whatever dynamic you have that you wish you could change. And I see it in when we slip back into the not real talk. I see the exhaustion, and I feel it in other people, and I feel it in myself. Like keeping up appearances, if you want to call it that. This lesson brought that up for me about how, back to the, why do we do that? Why is it so hard to say what we feel? That's a journey of a lifetime too. Why is that so hard? And we could name a million reasons why it's hard. The things we do to each other all along the way that feel like it's an accumulation. And when we accumulate maybe the hurts without addressing them as we go, it feels like an insurmountable task we feel like we have to undo it somehow or clean it all up, and it feels so big. But you know what? I feel like all of it gets washed away in the moment that we start to be authentic. It's almost like it negates all the inauthenticity we ever had. It feels like it's just washed away. There isn't this like, oh God, now I'm on a 10-year journey to clean up 10 years where we didn't do this. No, it's in an instant that it happens. I feel like there's a quantum aspect to that authentic loveness, whatever you want to call that. Let's be realness. There's some quantum time travel, timeline cleanup thing that happens with the moment we do the thing. I felt it many times this week. Every time I chose that versus it felt like, oh my God, we are literally cleaning up a lifetime of black. It's not, and it feels like gone. And then it percolates a little bit back up to the surface, like with the next thing that's said, and then it come back with the love thing, and boom, it's all gone again. And it'll probably keep playing out like the aftershocks of something, an energy that just has to play out and get it all out of the system until all we're doing is communicating real, like with what we really feel, all in love. Why is it so hard to receive love? It's not hard to give it, is it? Not hard to give it. Why is it so hard to receive it? So again, left with more questions than answers on this one, but it feels like good questions. Why is it so hard to receive love. And this goes to the lesson of like, today we commit to not attack ourselves. And in that, we can receive, it makes room for receiving love. So simple. Bye.